5, 4, 3, 2. Sara Skolaski, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Welcome to the Tiger Den podcast.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Please, for the audience out there, go ahead and introduce yourself, and you're a local business owner, so we want to hear about it.
Okay. Yeah, like you said, Sara Skolaski. I own the Spot Coffee here in Peoria, Illinois. We're located north Knoxville, so on the north end of Peoria, and we have been there for 3 years. We also have a mobile coffee shop as well. We have a vintage camper that we kind of truck around town and serve up great coffee to different small communities and churches and schools and all kinds of things. So been doing that for almost 5 years. So
5 years.
Yeah.
Has coffee always been a big part of your life?
I would be just like the average, coffee drinker in the past. I was definitely buying coffee like at Kroger's and brewing it like in a, I don't know, Mr. Coffee, nothing elaborate, nothing professional, that's for sure.
Sure.
So it was just more recently that I guess it really became a passion.
So did it come from did the product become the passion, or did the idea of serving people with the idea of a product implementing into that become the passion? How did you actually begin the journey of I'm going to open a coffee shop?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I was a teacher for 12 years, and I really loved that. But I kind of felt the Lord calling me in a different direction. I was not loving the position that I was in, the role that I was in, and kind of wanting to pursue something different. And so it was that fall that I got diagnosed with breast cancer, actually.
Oh, my gosh.
So, got that diagnosis that kind of really rocked us a little bit.
Yeah.
And went through surgery and chemotherapy, and thanks be to God, came out on the other side.
Wow.
But it was through that trial that I realized God wanted me to do something different, and He really wanted me to connect with people. And so I'll never forget, I'd closed out another year teaching, and just really celebratory that summer, just praising God that, I was still alive and be able to, be a wife and a mom. But I was really ready for something else career-wise. And I told my husband, I said, babe, I just want to do something that I can just connect with people. I just really feel like I just need to be connecting with people.
Right.
I love kids, but I need adult interaction. And so I was like, what if we would open a coffee shop? Wouldn't that be so fun? I could just make coffee and talk to people all day. And he was like, babe, where do you think we're going to get this kind of money to just open a coffee shop? And he was like, and we have no skill set in this. How are we just going to, crank out some coffee for people? We, barely know how to do it for ourselves. And I was just so confident. Once I had verbalized that to him, I was so confident that that's what I was supposed to do. I was like, I'm kind of one of those people, when people tell me no, I'm like, oh, okay, well, we'll see about that.
Same.
Yeah. And he didn't really tell me no, but I was like, okay, I can do this. So, I found this camper on Craigslist for $300, and I was like, hey babe, what if we would do mobile and that was kind of in the beginning of when food trucks were coming on the scene in Peoria. So
Right. Weren't you posted up in Junction City?
Yeah.
Was that your shop there? The trailer?
No, that one wasn't, but we have parked around there.
Okay, I've probably seen it there at some point, yeah.
Yep. So just kind of all around town. But yeah, that's kind of where I started. I was like, I'll just serve coffee before I teach.
Yeah.
And it'll kind of fill both areas.
So you did this when you were teaching. You started this whole thing?
Yeah, I did. I would take it in the mornings early and serve small communities. And then he would meet me at the school and grab the camper and take it into storage. And I would go on and teach. And that's how it was for a few months. But it was this passion that I couldn't put away, I was thinking about it all day. And so every little nugget of time when I didn't have students, on prep periods and lunches, I was calling businesses and just saying hey, this is who I am. This is what I want to do. Would you please allow me to come and serve your employees? And a lot of times they were like, no. And I was like, oh, and I was like, I'm not above begging. So finally I was like, if you don't like it, we will never come back. But if you will just allow us to do it one time, I think you would really be happy with the product that we're going to deliver. And I think your employees will too. And so I finally got a commitment from 5 companies. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of where it started. And then I started getting more and more phone calls. And finally Ryan was like, wow, like you've made this into something. And now you have to decide, like, are you going to jump all in, or are you going to, you know, teach? Because he said now there's enough interest.
There's enough demand.
That, you're going to have to decide where you really want to go. And I was like, oh, I'm all in. So, yeah. That's how it started.
I love that. I think when we look at companies and brands and like even small businesses, when I see them pop up, I'm thinking, before I became a business owner, I was thinking to myself, there's got to be a ton of planning and a ton of like market research and all this other stuff. And when you I figured out that like it's a lot of people just like, you do enough market research to understand what's going on in the industry, but at some point you have to pull the trigger into the unknown and just say, I'm going to do this. And I'll figure it out later, because you can't know all the problems you're about to get into until you do it. You know,
you probably wouldn't do it if you knew all the problems.
You know, we have this glorified vision of how it's going to look, and then it happens, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is a lot harder than what it is. But I totally understand what you're talking about there.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the breast cancer diagnosis. Sure. And what were some of the biggest takeaways and some of the biggest lessons from that point, and how that's changed your life?
Yeah. So I would say I was 32. I like when I was 32, I always thought of like breast cancer as this like old person's disease, you know, like,
sure.
Oh, you know, you might get that like when you're 50 or something.
Right.
And I exercised, you know, 6 days a week, had a really clean diet. So when I found a lump, I was real dismissive. I was like, oh, this can't be, you know.
Sure.
And went and had a mammogram, and sure enough, it was. So that was, I always call it our beautiful disaster, because it was hard. I remember thinking after I got the information, how am I ever going to tell my girls? You know, how am I going to be strong enough to tell them in a way that isn't scary? Because at the time, they were 5 and 3. And so delivering that kind of information, you know, they had seen people without their hair, and they had heard about cancer. And usually when they had heard about it, it was about people that had passed away.
Sure.
So I knew I had to be really strong going into that conversation to assure them that I was going to be okay, and whatever was to be was to be. So yeah, 32, got diagnosed, surgery, chemo. But it was one morning before I had surgery that I remember crying a lot and looking at my husband and saying, what if I don't make it? What if I can't be here for our girls? You know, what if I can't be here to raise our children with you? And Ryan's always really been like my rock. He's just this calm force in our home. And I was really looking for him to give me like this peace and calm response. Like, it's going to be okay. You know, you're healthy. And he didn't. He was like, Sarah, I feel like you're wanting me to give you answers that only God can give you at this time. So he's like, you need to battle that out with him, not me. And so that was like a really pivotal point. I remember getting in the shower and just like really warring with God, like, please don't let this be it for me. Like, if you save me, like, I will do everything I can to glorify your name in all of this, you know, like, just please use me. Let this be my testimony. And it was that day that it was like he adjusted my lens, because then that day I remember driving to school. And I remember like the sunset was so beautiful that morning. And that was something that I had really become numb to. Like, I was just going through the motions. Like, I would drive to the gym in the mornings. I would come home. And it was just like this, you know, race all the time. Just get to the next thing, get to the next thing. So that morning I remember like this whole new vision of life and like how beautiful things were, and interactions. They were like magnified. They were so much more beautiful, and they meant something. It wasn't just like, good morning, or, you know, it wasn't just this surface level interaction. I really felt like, man, all of these interactions are happening for a reason. You know, like, I'm supposed to be here at this time and interact with these people, but it needs to be at a deeper level. So that kind of carried through chemotherapy. I was able to sit with a lot of people, and I I don't know, like I felt like, the only way I can really think about it is I felt like really shiny when I was there. Like I really felt like the Lord was going to use me like when I was there. And so I got to love on nurses and just got to, hold other people's hands that were going through treatments. And it was just really a beautiful time. I really got to connect with a lot of people. And I look back on those memories really fondly. So yeah, that was really like a pivotal point where I really started looking at life differently. And so I say it's my beautiful disaster because although it was hard, I'm really grateful that at 32, I got that new change in my perspective and this new leash on life. Like I get to enjoy the sunrise and sunsets because I think it's pretty common for a lot of parents to just like start going through the motions of life and just like checking things off the list and, doing the things. So I feel really privileged to be able to see things in a different light now.
That's incredible. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Death is an interesting thing. When I talk to customers, we have customers of all ages, and when you talk to people who have health problems and who are nearing death, it's a whole different dynamic that enters the picture of what you're talking about on the product side really makes no difference. Because it makes a difference, sure, because that's what we're here to do.
Yeah.
But there's such a human element to that of understanding that it's almost like a mirror of your own. You could die anytime.
Yeah.
Right? And to keep that conscious and make decisions from that point is super valuable, because when you get caught in the rigorous mundaneness of life, you tend to just lose focus on why we're here or what we're here for. So it just becomes about doing the motions and attaining more wealth or having better, whatever the case.
Yeah.
And that's so minute in the grand scheme of it all. And so when you talk to people, it brings a soberness to your reality to be like that wake up moment.
Yeah.
I remember this last year in 2020 was by far the hardest year of my life. And for the first 5 months, I lived with a defeatist attitude of poor me. And I'm sure there are moments when you have a diagnosis like that slips in. When you have that attitude, everything becomes clouded by that judgment. And it's so hard to be a light or be your own human self that it's just like a cloud is covering. And when you see the sunrise or when you see something beautiful, I remember this one moment I had a mindset change where a buddy kind of called me out on my behavior or my attitude.
Yeah.
And I woke up the next day after a lot of prayer, and I was like, it felt like my life had been restarted. Mm-hmm. And nothing had changed. My circumstances were the exact same. The only thing that had changed is my perception.
Yeah.
Is my perception of what's happening, right?
Yeah.
And that is so much of our daily lives. And so if we don't keep that at the forefront, we can just get lost pretty easily.
Yeah.
And it becomes quickly, and it becomes a spiral of I'm clouded all the time. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Talk to me more about your husband, Ryan, and he works here in Peoria, and I've met him before. A quick 30-second story of you guys is when I walked into our church for the first time, you came up to me and you said, I'll never forget, you said, how can I make this experience better for you or more comfortable for you? And I was like, or more family-oriented for you. And I was like, that's such a great question that I didn't really know how to respond, because I think a lot of times we feel needy if we say something that we want.
Yeah.
But I think when people approach us with those questions, it like becomes natural to want to give back or seek that kind of relationship. So talk to me about Ryan and your guys' growth as a couple throughout that process. And yeah, speak to that.
Yeah. So Ryan and I are high school sweethearts.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we went to the same super small school, Illini Bluffs, growing up.
IB.
And yeah, go IB. We were Tigers.
Yes.
So he started into the workforce right after graduating high school. Mm-hmm. I went to college and studied education. And he has always just been, like I kind of alluded before, like just always been my rock. You know, like whatever I was doing, he's always just been like, go babe, you know, like I've got your back. I remember when I was, early in college, he'd come over and just help me study flashcards and, prepare for tests. And he couldn't have gotten anything out of that time, but he was always there, cheering me on and helping me. So yeah, we got married almost 14 years ago now. And, he's just such a calming force in my life. He just is a great leader of our house, and, just so supportive, and sometimes I'm the dreamer. I'm like, oh, we'll do this and this and this. And he's kind of like, we got to like rein that in a little bit, Sarah. We can't do all those things because I want to start a zillion businesses. And he's like, okay. So that's kind of like when he was like, we don't have the money to start a business, of like what you're dreaming of.
Sure.
But, we could do something like this. So just always kind of more realistic maybe than I am, and just really calming, and helps me to pursue things in a way that's good for our family.
That's amazing. You were high school sweethearts.
Yep.
You started the Spot Coffee after the breast cancer diagnosis. You kind of had this change of mind, and then you get into the business. When you're leading people, when you started to actually get employees and actually have to take on help, what's some of the takeaways you've had from leading people and being an employer of because when you were a teacher, you're managing a lot of personalities, a lot of kids. You got out of the business, now you're managing people and paying them money. And what's some of the takeaways you've had from having that experience?
Well, first of all, it was really neat because when I got into business, I could not identify as being the business owner or being the boss. I was like, hey, we're all a team. And I'm one of you, and we all take out the trash together, and we all scrub toilets together. And, I did not want to I didn't want to step into this leadership role. I didn't see myself in those shoes. And what was really interesting about Ryan was he saw that in me. And so he started speaking those words over me, like, babe, I saw the way that you interacted with so-and-so, and like, you're a really great leader, and you really motivate them, by encouraging them. And so he was really instrumental in that mind shift of, he saw that in me before I saw that in myself. So that was super helpful. But a lot of times, I use my teaching background a ton to lead my company, because it's just like having students. They all want to be seen. They all want to be heard. They all want to know that they're special. And so I tell people, like, before I hire them, like, we're like a family. And I love my employees, like, fiercely. So I want to know about you. I want to know your favorite candy. I want to know what kind of rewards you like. I want to know, what inspires you, and goals for your life. And so when you dive deep with people, they inherently want to show up for you. They feel like you're investing in them. And that's not something I do just to manipulate that. Like, that's truly my heart. Like, I just love getting to know people on a deeper level and showing up for people and just, being their cheerleader. So that's just really how I go about leading my team, is just with heart.
Do you think that attitude has kind of bled into your customers and how they see the business of supporting you as a local coffee shop owner? Do you think they feel that from your employees and actually see that culture?
Yeah, so that was my intent, that like if my employees feel loved, like, they're going to love on the customers. And so I always try to use that model of loving them well. And I always say, like, love our customers. Don't just make it like an interaction that they might receive at another fast food establishment. If we want to be viewed differently, we have to act differently.
That's right.
And so I always say, like, I want you to go to the next level with our customers. Ask them what they're doing this weekend. Ask them, about the trip that they just took to see their grandson, or, really make it a point to have conversation and relationship with our customers, not just surface level interactions.
That's right. One of the toughest parts about leading is knowing you're going to screw up. I think we want to be validated just as much as the next one, right? And so being the constant force of validation, but also knowing that when we screw up, when something happens in your company, it directly goes back to the top. Yeah. And it's a really tough pill to swallow sometimes. You'd be like, okay, you're leading this ship whether we sink or whether we sail. Period, end of story. It's on your name. And so it's super difficult to make that transition. I had a similar one. Like I was talking to you beforehand, it was like one day I woke up and I'm like, I don't want to do this today. Yeah. But you don't have a choice. Because if nobody else shows up, guess what? Nobody else shows up. So it's really important, I think, giving myself grace to fail, and then also understanding that, okay, it's okay. Now you can feel. Now you've learned something. Now we can move on, and get better from that experience. That's been the toughest part. Leading people is just knowing that you can screw up too. You gotta give yourself some grace and move on.
Yeah. And I think that's like such a neat experience for us to model for our employees is to say, you know, like,
I'm human.
Yeah, I really screwed that situation up, or, you know, I don't feel like I showed up my best for you yesterday, and I'm sorry, because I find a lot of times people don't have people in their lives that do humble themselves and say like, I screwed up.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like, you know, we have this awesome opportunity to model that for them.
Super tough.
Yeah.
But super worth it.
Yeah.
Right? I think the more, if I was thinking about this last night, the more we get into that mindset of wisdom, like I've been reading a lot of Proverbs lately, and it's so simple. Proverbs is like one of the simplest books I've ever read in my life, but it's just so like...
But we screw it up.
It's like, walk the straight path, turn away from darkness, and if you screw up, humble yourself, say you're sorry. It's so simple, but it's like, how many times have I not done that? And but then I'm reading this, I'm like, oh my gosh, Ben, like just think, just do the right thing. If you screw up, apologize. But I'm learning so much right now as a business owner because it's easy to fail in some of the leadership roles, but I feel like I'm entering into a period of growth right now because I'm seeing it more clearly, right?
Yeah.
Life.
For sure.
We're living it.
Right. Yep.
So the Spot Coffee's been open for 5 years. Where do you see the next chapter? Is it expansion of franchises? Is it a larger space?
So the old me, 32-year-old me, would have all the answers for you on that question. I was very type A. I had everything planned out. I knew our 5-year plan. I knew exactly where we were going. 38-year-old me does not know. I don't know. I don't really feel like this is my business. I really feel like this is the Lord's business, and he's just placed me in here for this time period. I don't know that it's forever.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to be faithful in the role that I have right now, and just step into what he's calling. If he decides that we'll expand, I'll step into that too. But if he decides that this door will close and he has something different, then I'll step into that as well. So I can't really tell you. I'm not sure.
Super honorable, because it's easy to be like, yeah, I mean, 4 more locations, right? But nothing lasts forever, and so it's okay to pivot to something else, right?
Yeah. I always feel like if he's going to bring something new, it'll be something better anyways. So like, who am I to deny that? You know, I don't want to get caught up. I always say like, I'm passionate about my business, but it doesn't define me.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a part of my life. It's not who I am.
Your entire life.
Yeah. So I think as long as I keep that separation, I'll have a lot of peace when he does close the door and moves me on to something else, you know?
I love that. By the way, this is, what did you bring me here this morning?
Okay, so I brought you the Trev this morning. This is named after one of our faithful customers. He comes through every day, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day. He has always been super generous to my employees.
Your staff.
Yeah, like real generous, like tipping like 80%, 90%.
That's amazing.
And he comes through several times and would do that each time. And so finally I stopped him in the parking lot one day and was like, what gives? Like, I dig that you're so great to my staff, but like, what can I do for you? And he was like, nothing. I just want people to know that they're loved and they're appreciated. And I was like, that's really great. But like, what are you passionate about? Like, what can I get behind that you're doing? And he was like, nothing. I just really want to, you know, love on your customers like you do. And I was like, love on your employees like you do. And I was like, okay. So then I went to the team and I was like, what can we do for this super generous man that's, you know, loving us so well? And so they decided we should name a drink after him. So. And
this is what he orders every time?
The Trev, yep.
Super, very good.
Good.
Trev has great taste.
Yeah, right?
What is in here? Is it like a...
Yeah, so it's a vanilla bean latte with an extra shot of espresso and some cinnamon.
I'm going to be hyped up here in about 30 minutes then. Yeah.
Yours has oat milk, so.
Big fan of oat milk.
Yeah,
Big fan, yeah. So the Peoria landscape, do you see, being a Peoria business owner, have you connected with a lot of local Peoria business owners and kind of made a lot of friendships throughout this tenure running the shop?
Yeah, I feel like I've made a lot of great connections with fellow business owners. I feel like the coffee community, like people get super intimidated, and I was really intimidated by it myself when I entered in.
I bet.
But it's so loving and compassionate. Like it's not super competitive, you know. CXT roasts for me, and I have a
cool.
wonderful relationship with them, and like I encourage my staff to visit all the other coffee shops. So it's really neat I don't know. I love to see new people popping up on the scene and love to reach out and just see how I can encourage them and be a supporter for them. So I just think it's really fun.
I love the coffee community in Peoria. I think it's kind of the backbone of a lot of different businesses. Not the backbone, but it's like a meeting spot.
Yeah.
Every time I meet with business owners or somebody else, I'm going to a coffee shop to talk to them. And it's such an interesting, I remember Ty Paluska, I don't know if you remember him from 3030 Coffee.
He was instrumental in my business. So, yeah.
Years ago, he said that, I said, why don't you open a drive-through window at 3030? You'd get so much more revenue. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I actually want to force people to come in and talk to each other.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's such an interesting way to see business, because you're almost sacrificing profit to do that, right? Because Starbucks, you're going through the drive-through a lot of the time.
Absolutely.
But I love that. It's like the local people are going to go in here and you're going to talk to somebody in person, look at their face. You might see somebody that you know and share a cup of coffee or have a conversation. What an interesting business model to celebrate.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Anytime I hear people say like, oh, I'm out of a job or, you know, I'm looking for a job, I always encourage them, just come into the coffee shop and sit. I promise you'll meet people. And you'll have tremendous connections, because I see it time and time again. People come in, they'll sit, they'll be working, but then somebody else is sitting down the pew from them, and a conversation will spark up. And there's just too many times that happens where perfect strangers come in and then they leave exchanging numbers or insight, or, you know, they have a connection, and it's really awesome to, you know, get to witness that.
That is awesome. What's one thing that there's an entrepreneur out there seeing this. What's one thing you would suggest to somebody and looking to start a business, late 20s, early 30s, has been in a career for a little bit, right? Yeah. You were a teacher for a little bit. I was in sales for a long time. What's one thing that you would suggest? Hey, I've done this for a little while. This is my one takeaway from owning a business.
Yeah. So I always encourage people to like really dig deep about what they're passionate about. Because I think sometimes you can be like, oh, I think I could make a lot of money if I started a business in this. Mm-hmm. But if you're not like on fire and have passion for that, I think that too kind of fizzles out. But I think as long as you get to the heart of like what your passion is and then find something that can be the vehicle for that. So my passion was connecting with people. Mm-hmm. So I felt like coffee was a beautiful vehicle for me to connect with people, because usually coffee's enjoyed, you know, in company, slowly, like there's not this rush. And so I felt like that was a good vehicle to do what I'm super passionate about. And so I just always say, like, do the hard work, dig down deep in your soul and figure out what are you on fire for? Because there are going to be hard days like that you don't want to get out of bed for your business, but your passion and your fire probably won't go out. You know, like you'll say like, hey, I got to go. I got to do this. And otherwise it can just be just another business. And, you know, it can... you could burn out pretty quickly.
That's so true. I was in the bathroom industry for 4 years, and so like I did a lot of bathtub to shower remodels for older folks who can't step over a bathtub anymore. What I found out through the process is it's not about the bathroom remodel. It's about the human being stepping into the bathtub or to the shower and what that actually did for them. Or they clean their tub every single day, wearing out their elbows and knees, and they fell down one time and they want something more cleanly. So I was like, this is such a cool thing, because I love the process of before and after. Yeah. Of seeing something change from not cool to cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I got my first taste in bathrooms, and when I discovered roofing, it's much the same thing, right? Yeah. A leak in the roof causes so much damage. So although I do love roofing, it's really not about the roof. No. It's about the person who lives underneath it, and making sure we're keeping them safe. And then the process from start to finish of actually doing the project, I just wanted to make it better. Yeah. I wanted to do it in a way that I really thought it could be done. So I totally agree with you there. It's enlightening to really dig deep in your own personality and pull out those things over time. Because when you're in your early 20s just getting jobs and doing stuff, you don't quite know yet.
No, that's right.
It's really a learned thing over time of like, this is what I actually care about, right?
Yeah. And I always tell my team, I'm like, we're so much more than coffee. Like what you're doing has the power to change the trajectory of someone's day. You know, like
It's
they
so
could be in
true.
a really low spot, just like you showing up on the scene. You have this panicked, you know, family because they have this leak in their roof. What are they going to do? It's cold. It's, you know, whatever. And you come into the scene with like this super calming force. Like you have the trajectory, just put them at ease and like, hey, we're going to take care of you.
That's right.
And, you know, we're going to love you through putting a roof on your home. You know what I mean? Like it seems so ironic, but like it's true.
Yeah. It's amazing when you go, especially in retail or restaurants. And going back to what we were talking about earlier about just the hustle and bustle of life, I think we can get lost in that sometimes. And when we go out to eat, we're not staring at a person, we're staring at a waitress or a waiter, and they're just doing a job to make money. But deep down, I know I've had jobs in retail, and you come to work sometimes with issues.
Yeah.
And then you have to show up and put a fake smile on and serve people, right? And so I've always been super cognizant of that, to like look somebody in the face and be like,
Yeah.
You almost want to be like, are you okay today? Because like retail and restaurants and that stuff is so difficult because working with the public can be difficult at times. And so I've had a lot of interactions with people over time from both behind the counter and in front of it, that it's like this human story.
Yeah.
Where it's like, no, I'm not staring at somebody just to serve me. This is a person with a family, or with family members dying, or with, you know what I'm saying?
Big issues.
Addictions, big issues.
Yeah.
And so it's like we have to step back for a second sometimes and be like, what's really important here? Mm-hmm. Is it getting my coffee on time, all perfect, or is it staring at the person and really making sure that they know that somebody cares for them?
Yeah, that they're well, yeah.
Yeah. Well, let me cap it off by saying this. I've known you for only a short period of time, but in every interaction that I've had, I've walked away thinking that human being is very special. And so I really wanted to have you on the podcast and celebrate you as a person, because I feel like you have something to give the world that's a lot bigger than just coffee.
Oh, thank you so much. That means a lot.
Yeah, you and your husband and your family both. I really celebrate you guys, because you're just awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming by. Thank you for the coffee.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to leave the listeners with?
I just encourage you, like if you're in a job or a position right now that is not fulfilling you, like to really be brave and step out there and to really follow your passions. I think it's so easy just to get caught up in, you know, just the daily. But once you're stepping into a career that you're really on fire for, it really is the best. You know, you're just, I don't know, it's a whole new perspective. And I encourage you to strive for that. So
I love that. Yeah. Take risks.
Yeah.
Live your dreams.
Yeah.
Dig deep, know who you are as a human being, and go after it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love that. Sarah, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
And I look forward to many more interactions in the future with your business.
Awesome.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Yeah.